Run and jump. It's simple enough, and hell, when you're a kid, it's your default course of action. It's a process you repeat ad nauseum every day, often through the corridors of your own home, despite insistent instructions to the contrary from nearby adults. It's a basic combination of basic verbs, ones we're conditioned to think we've outgrown. But for the honest among us, it's a little bit more than that. In a sense, it was the blueprint for the very industry that draws us together, the two actions from which video games as we know them evolved. Moving from side to side and jumping on stuff defined video games until video games grew up. And then, like so many of us, video games seemed to think that they'd outgrown running and jumping. New Super Mario Bros. Proves they haven't.
So nice.
And to be frank, that might be enough to justify its existence. Even if this were just a nostalgic trip back to the roots of modern gaming, that would make New Super Mario Bros. A worthwhile experience. But that's not what this game is, at least not entirely. This game aims for something a bit more ambitious. Now, it's not trying to reinvent the wheel or replace those simple old verbs, but this game doesn't just follow that old blueprint. It adds to it. It evolves the very concept of the vintage platform game. And simply put, New Super Mario Bros. Made flat cool again. Of course, you might not get that impression from the title, but emphasize the new part. A New Super Mario Bros. Is just a New Super Mario Bros. Game, but at the same time, it's also a new Super Mario Bros. Game. It isn't interested in just reciting old classics. This game is much more concerned with creating new classics of its own. New Super Mario Bros. Starts beautifully. Mario and Peach are taking a walk when suddenly trouble strikes at Peach's castle. Mario runs over to investigate, and while he's gone, the trap is executed. Bowser Jr. kidnaps the princess, and our journey to World 8 commences, as does our trip into platforming euphoria. Now, on the one hand, the excellence of this game's level design shouldn't come as a surprise. No one does flatforming better than Super Mario, but at the same time, he hadn't done it in about 20 years. And you'd think he'd be rusty from spending all his time in fancy 3D environments, but in truth, it's actually benefited him. Nintendo has taken lessons learned in 3D and applied them to Mario in 2D, teaching the old plumber some spectacular new tricks. So yeah, it's the new power-ups like the Mega Mushroom and the Koopa Shell, but it's also the satisfying triple jump, it's the wall jump, it's the infamous butt stomp. Think back to the original Super Mario Bros. That game's biggest appeal was the joyful freedom of those simple verbs, running and jumping. The biggest change in New Super Mario Bros. Isn't exactly a change at all. It's a profound refinement of what actions those verbs convey. Of course, speaking of mixing 2D and 3D, another big change in New Super Mario Bros. Is the visual style. The game actually uses 3D character models, not just 2D sprites, and it works tremendously. The Mushroom Kingdom never looked so alive, nor had a Mario game ever looked so polished. I mean, even when he's tiny, Mario blinks his eyes. Talk about attention to detail. New Super Mario Bros. Was a huge deal in 2006, and 5 years later, it still is. This is a fantastic game, a testament to the impact that old school ideas can have even in a modern industry, and perhaps most importantly, it's proof that you're never too old to run and jump.